Kate Milifalcha. Welcome to Irish Granny Helen. And today I want to straighten my camera. I want to do a little review. This will be part 3 of our exploration of Buddhism. First of all, my apologies. It's been weeks since I read this, so I'm probably not going to be able to decipher my handwriting. Bear with me. Second of all, I do have somebody who's a Buddhist who's coming to talk to us. I hate to commit because we had to cancel once before, but we're hoping Sunday, and I think I'll probably post it Monday. So stay tuned, check back, and we'll ask questions. If you have questions after watching this or the first 2 videos, put them in the comments and I can ask her when we do our show. So in the meantime, we left off at the end of video 2 with the question about self, Buddhism, ego, and self. They do not believe there's an individual soul, an individual self. So that was a big question for me. I'm not sure I understand that. Let's continue at part 3. There's no particular title to this. We're just moving forward. So as far as the self goes, there's no unchanging, permanent self or soul. And the next big issue of question is that emptiness is a central concept. Now, I do understand that the goal is to remove attachment to this existence, the material world, and desire, longing for things, feeling restless, never feeling satisfied, letting go of all of that. And I'm thinking that's what they mean by emptiness, but we'll have to ask our expert. So next we have what is called the 3 jewels of Buddhism. And they are, number 1, Buddha. A Buddha is not like a first name. The Buddha, it's a title, and it's someone awakened by his or her own efforts or insight, a person who has ended the cycle of rebirth by gaining enlightenment, and a Buddha will have immense psychic power, paranormal abilities, levitation, walking through walls, things that we seem to think are not possible, but have to do merely with the vibration of the soul. Many Buddhas exist in many realms that can benefit the world. So they are enlightened, elevated, transcendent beings who, by virtue of their own effort and awakening, have achieved that state and are possible to help us. A Buddha is a spiritual protector of all creatures with a life that is eons long and who has transcended the cycle of life, death, rebirth, etc. The next jewel of the 3 is Dharma. Dharma is the collective of all Buddha's teachings. Now, we do use the word Buddha like it's a guy, like it's his name. I should say the Buddha, and that would make it clear. Unfortunately, when I write in a kind of fake shorthand, and I might forget the article. So Dharma is the collection of all of the Buddha's teachings, which explains the true nature of reality, must be put into practice, and is like a raft you use to cross over to nirvana. And it includes universal laws and cosmic order. Dharma includes the everlasting principle, the ultimate truth, the way things really are. So it's the collated knowledge. This is the real story, the center. And number 3 is Sangha, S-A-N-G-H-A. Now this is interesting. Sangha refers to a monastic community of monks and nuns which follows the Buddha's discipline. It's the ideal community with optimum conditions for spiritual growth. One of the features of it is celibacy with a minimal amount of material possessions. It's dissociating from the things of the material world, the senses, and that includes all of it. It's important because it functions to pass down dharma. In other words, if you live this way, it's easier for you to attain the understanding of dharma. This is a way of living, preserving, and teaching the scriptures, and it provides lay people with the opportunity to gain well, I commented here. To gain enlightenment, to gain credit, to gain karma, merit by donating. And I put in the print in the margins. Well, of course it does. And I wrote $signs. So it's implicit in this concept of Sangha that you do good deeds. And one of the good deeds that you can do is to help to support the monks and nuns who dedicate their lives to achieving nirvana. Various forms of Buddhism interpret emptiness in different ways. It's about illusion versus reality. It's about the self. It's about dependent organization. So I think what this is saying, if I understand it at all, there are different ways of looking at the concept of emptiness, but basically you're talking about, I hate to use this word because it has a lot of psychological implications, and I don't mean it that way, but a dissociation from material reality. That's all an illusion. I always have trouble, people talk about life is a hologram and everything is illusion. I have to think about that. So paths to spiritual awakening differ between the different flavors of Buddhism, but most include some of the same features. Ethics, meditation, wisdom, having a kind and compassionate attitude toward every living thing and the world as a living being. Devotion, visualization of deities and mandalas. We're going to get to there. The value of textual study, and all of those combined contribute to your journey towards enlightenment. Talk about the middle way. The middle way is a middle path. Well, you shouldn't use a word to define a word. The middle path is the center of the journey between asceticism and hedonistic pleasure. Not all enjoyment of the physical world is bad. The idea is there's much to be learned. We have our senses. We're here in the physical world for a reason, and rejecting it all would be foolhardy. Asceticism is not all good. I mean, you can isolate yourself and deprive yourself, deny yourself into a state of complete deterioration. We are beings of the material world, and we are social beings, social animals. So the trick is to find balance, balanced diet, all that nonsense. Okay. Let's move forward. This is very Eastern. Big joke, right? Eastern in its approach, in my mind, because they have a tendency to categorize these things, to categorize everything. 5-year plan, in lists that are numbered. And it cracked me up because, the 3 jewels, 4 steps, the 2 this, the 6 that. It cracks me up. I don't know. It's it appeals to my my love of order and control. So now we have the Eightfold Path. And what is that? So the Eightfold Path, number 1 is having the right view or understanding. And what is the right view? To recognize there is an afterlife. Death is not the end. The Buddha taught the path to nirvana, and you have to accept that. And you have to believe in karma and rebirth, that cycle. Number 2 on the Eightfold Path is the right intention. The giving up all to follow a life of the mendicant, which is called peaceful renunciation. And we don't all, the expectation is that not everybody is going to become a monk, but to go in that general direction. Non-sensuality, to not harbor ill will, to move from cruelty to compassion. Number 3 on the Eightfold Path is right speech. No lying, no rudeness. You don't gossip about one another. And I want to put a little caveat in here. I kind of enjoy gossip, but my definition of gossip is not malicious. You don't get nasty about people behind their backs and then pretend you're all friendly in front of their faces. But, you have to spill a little tea. It's one of the pleasures of life. Maybe I'm wrong and I'll be back in another lifetime. But that's just my 2 cents. So you don't gossip. Okay. So then the other part is you should only speak of that which leads to salvation. I don't know. I think you can prioritize spirituality without being boring. Number 4 is right action. If these are beginning to sound like the 10 Commandments, you would be right. Right action. Thou shalt not kill. Don't injure. Don't steal. And no sexual misconduct. I think it's interesting that they're more specific. It's not like coveting your neighbor's wife. They really get into it. You don't cheat. You don't have affairs. You don't hurt one person by cavorting with another is basically what they're saying. Number 5 on the Eightfold Path is right livelihood. And that includes for monks and nuns to have minimum possessions. For lay people, for the rest of us, that your work should exclude cheating, exclude doing harm, exclude killing. Your livelihood shouldn't be made by exploiting others or the earth. Number 6 is right effort. To try not to harbor sensual thoughts that disrupt your meditation. I don't know. This struck me as kind of funny, and I'm sure I'm just not completely understanding it, but I don't know. I think if you're 13 and you're trying to meditate, your mind might wander to sensual thoughts, but at my age, I don't know if that's necessarily where your head goes. Okay, let's move on. Number 7, right mindfulness. Now, mindfulness is a hot topic of the day these days. And it has value. It is derived from this tradition. Don't be absent-minded. Be conscious of your acts. Don't act impulsively without thought and then without considering how you have affected others. Understand the impermanence of the body. This is big. Understand the impermanence. You are not your body. We put a lot of emphasis on what we put into it, how we exercise it, what we wear on it, what it looks like, how it compares to other people. And, some of that is wise if it has to do with health, but there's too much value placed on hype and presentation, and not enough value put on its use as a tool for our own spiritual edification. And number 8 is right concentration. That means doing meditation or prayer and doing it correctly. And I would argue that although it's good to try to mature your meditation practice, you can still get something out of staring out a window and daydreaming. I'm just going to say. The belief is that common practices must hear the Dharma. In other words, what goes on in your life, what you take in your life, it ideally lends itself towards these positive teachings. And they recommend the recitation of the 3 refuges, like a shelter. I go to Buddha, I go to Dharma, I go to Sangha. You need to remind yourself. Next, we have a conversation about Buddhist ethics. What are they? The term for Buddhist ethics is Sila, S-I-L-A. These are the moral virtues, as in the Eightfold Path. A lot of these things intersect, overlap. It's all about being good, right? So the Eightfold Path, or well, the moral virtues are, this reminds me so much of, the acts of charity, the 7 deadly sins, the 10 commandments. All religions do that. They need to codify behavior because, spiritually we are infants and we need guidance. So, Sila, the Buddhist ethics, include giving charity, practicing goodwill, heedfulness, awareness, self-respect, and regard for consequences. A lot of this is about self-control and self-knowledge, and then applying it in the larger world. And then we have what they call the 5 precepts, which are the minimum Buddhist features for morality, how to be at least somewhat moral in the eyes of Buddhism. Number 1, no killing, caring for the welfare of other living beings, including the earth. Number 2, no stealing or cheating, all those things. Number 3, no sensual sins. They didn't elaborate. And number 4, no lying, no verbal abuse, no hate speech. I thought it was interesting. These old, ancient Buddhist concepts are so timely. And number 5, no drugs or alcohol. And that's because they lead to heedlessness. You lose your agency over your behavior. And they don't want that. And it's all based under the general umbrella of do no harm. If you're going to compare yourself to others, it shouldn't be based on the externals. It should be to see your own humanity in others, and therefore not to hurt them. You don't want to hurt yourself. What does that sound like? Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. It's about living in compassion. They do have a belief in karmic retribution, and I would love to get more of an elaboration on that. So that's going to be one of the questions we're going to ask our Buddhists when we get together. Monks, let's talk about them a little bit. They practice a code of behavior called Vinaya, and it differs from brand of monk to brand of monk. So that's very much like in Catholicism. They have orders, flavors of nuns and priests and monks, and they follow the teachings of a particular saint. Like the Benedictines follow the order of Saint Benedict, or the Franciscans, they follow the teachings of Saint Francis. And Buddhist monks are the same. They have different types of Buddhist monks. Monastic communities cut ties with their families' lives and become islands unto themselves. Let's see here how we're doing. Okay. Monks and lay people should practice the restraint of the senses. This is important for all of us. The senses distract us from meditation, from peace of mind, mostly from peace of mind, really, for all of us. And you can give up some of it. You can give up celibacy. You can live a life without celibacy, but you always need to focus on restraint and contemplation of the negative consequences of your actions. So what they're talking about, and what this does say, is mindfulness. Mindfulness is central. You need full awareness of the present moment. Live in the moment. Consider how what you do and say and think affects yourself and others. You don't want to be distracted from that. And we live a life of enormous distraction in our time and culture. We need an awareness of the relative value of things. That's really important, and you don't see that a lot on reality TV, I gotta tell you. Well, this is where I'm going to end this. I'm trying to make these not too long so people can digest, and we will move on to the next topic next time. Hope you're finding this interesting. A few people have responded to the first two videos with a lot of interest, and I hope that people continue to be interested. A little bit the blind leading the blind. I really don't know anything about Buddhism, so what I'm doing is sharing with you what I've learned. Let's hope I even understand it. So we will have somebody to consult, and that will be helpful. And of course, pipe up. I mean, if I get something terribly wrong, let me know. We'll try to fix it. So thank you very much for watching. And in the meantime, slán go fóill and sláinte.